If you're a man living alone, are you truly becoming stronger or slowly losing yourself? Hey brother, welcome to Grace Bible Stories. I'm so glad you're here. Before we dive in, I want to thank you for showing up, not just to this video, but for yourself. Today's story might just be your story, or the wake-up call you've been needing. In this video, we're going to explore a powerful question every man must face, especially when he's walking this road alone. We'll follow the journey of Jacob, a man who's got everything on paper: career, freedom, independence, but still wakes up to a hollow silence he can't quite explain. If you've ever felt like your days are blending together, your purpose is slipping through your fingers, or like you're silently drifting farther from who you used to be, this video is for you. Maybe people tell you that being single is freedom. But deep down, you know that solitude can become a slow burn, the kind you don't notice until your passion fades, your habits break down, and you no longer recognize the man in the mirror. So here's what I want from you: hit that subscribe button, help us hit our first 1,000 subscribers, and share this with a man who needs to hear it. And stay with me till the end, because there's something waiting there that might shift the way you see your entire life. You see, I once read about a man who lived in a spotless, high-rise apartment in Chicago. Clean kitchen, big TV, silence. Every day, he'd wake up, scroll, sip his coffee, and stare out the window. To his friends, he looked free. But inside, he was stuck. No fire, no direction, just motion. That man could be Jacob. That man could be you. Let's talk about it. Let me introduce you to Jacob, the man in the mirror. Part 1: The Man in the Mirror. You've already met Jacob. He's the guy who seems to have it together, but something's missing. You saw the smile that doesn't quite reach his eyes. The silence behind the locked door. What you didn't see is the slow unraveling happening underneath. Jacob doesn't feel broken. He wouldn't even say he's unhappy. That's the tricky part. It's not sadness, it's something quieter. Something harder to name. It's when the days start blurring. When your mornings feel gray, your nights too quiet. When you're free to do anything, but don't want to do much of anything at all. And somewhere in that stillness, the fire inside starts to flicker, then fade. Jacob isn't lazy. He's tired in a way rest doesn't fix. He's not lost. He just hasn't had a reason to move forward in a while. And maybe you know exactly what that feels like. Because drifting doesn't always look dramatic. Sometimes, it looks like you, staring at the ceiling, saying, "I'll get it together tomorrow." And tomorrow never comes. Let me ask you something. Have you ever felt that slow, invisible fade? Comment "I've felt that" below. No shame here, just truth. Because next, we're going to talk about how solitude, this thing that promises freedom, can slowly steal your strength if you're not watching closely. And Jacob? He didn't see it coming. Most of us don't, certainly. Part 2: The Seduction of Solitude. At first, solitude feels like freedom. Jacob could sleep in without guilt, eat pizza for breakfast, binge Netflix at 2 a.m., and never justify a thing. No one to impress. No one to disappoint. Just peace. Space. Control. And for a while, it was good. But somewhere between quiet mornings and slow afternoons, something started to shift. The silence he once welcomed began to settle in his bones. The freedom that felt wide open started to feel hollow. Comfortable, yes, but comfort, unchecked, can turn into a quiet kind of prison. And maybe you felt that too. Like life is no longer pushing against you, but you're not pushing back either. You drift, not because you're weak, but because nothing's anchoring you. Jacob didn't fall off a cliff. He slowly sat down on a couch and didn't get up. There's a moment in scripture that hits hard here, the story of Samson. A man gifted with strength beyond imagination, yet slowly undone. Not by a battlefield, but by compromise, pleasure, distraction. He lost his purpose long before he lost his power. That's how solitude seduces you. It whispers, "You deserve this." And it's not wrong, but it's not the whole truth either. Because what starts as freedom can quietly become a life without friction, and without friction, a man stops growing. So let me ask you, brother, has comfort ever dulled your edge? Drop comfort almost got me in the comments if this hits you. And while you're at it, subscribe so you never miss a truth that might just wake you up. Because next, we'll explore what happens when that comfort calcifies, when the freedom you fought for becomes the cage you can't see. Part 3, when freedom becomes a cage. You ever notice how decay doesn't make noise? That's the thing Jacob didn't see. The fall wasn't dramatic, it was slow, silent, almost invisible. At first, he told himself he was just resting, then resetting. Eventually, he stopped calling it anything at all. His mornings grew later, his habits softer. One skipped workout turned into 3. One night of junk food turned into a week of takeout. His apartment stayed clean, but his inner world? Cluttered, numb, quiet in all the wrong ways. The screens helped. So did the noise, music, YouTube, a podcast playing in the background just to avoid the weight of silence. But the more Jacob drowned it out, the more hollow he felt. Like a man walking in circles, thinking he's on a journey. And here's what scripture says about that kind of drift. Proverbs 24 tells the story of a field left untended. Thorns grew everywhere, the ground was covered in weeds, and the stone wall was broken down. It didn't happen overnight. It happened because no one was paying attention. That's spiritual erosion. Not a blowout, just a slow leak. Jacob didn't need a dramatic crisis. He needed someone to notice. Someone to say, "Brother, you're slipping." So let me ask you, have you noticed weeds growing somewhere in your life? Comment time to tend the field if that hits you. Because next, we'll talk about what happens when a man loses more than momentum. When the voice of God feels far, and the man in the mirror stops recognizing who he is. Part 4, the spiritual disconnect. There comes a moment in a man's life where the noise dies down, but God still feels silent. That's where Jacob found himself. He wasn't angry, wasn't rebellious, just distant. He stopped praying, not out of defiance, but because it felt like no one was listening. Worship music no longer stirred him. Scripture felt dry. His faith wasn't gone, it was just quiet. And that quiet grew heavier. You ever felt like that? Like the connection is still there, but weak, like a phone signal flickering in and out? That's what spiritual drift looks like. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't break things. It just slowly makes you forget who you are. Jacob's story mirrors a man from Scripture, Elijah. A prophet, bold and fearless, until one day, he ran. He hid in a cave, overwhelmed, alone, ready to give up. But in that cave, God didn't yell. He didn't send fire or thunder. He came in a whisper. And maybe that's what you need right now. Not a sign, not a sermon. Just stillness. Just enough space for a whisper to break through. If you've ever felt far from God, drop "still listening" in the comments. Sometimes that small act of honesty is the first step back. Because up next, Jacob stops running. And for the first time in a long time, he starts rebuilding. Not for the world to see, but for the man he's becoming. Part 5. Rebuilding the Man, Discipline and Brotherhood. Jacob didn't have a lightning bolt moment. He didn't wake up one morning with a perfect plan or an angel at his door. What he had was a whisper, a flicker, a sense that if he didn't stand up now, he might stay down for good. So he started small. Not dramatic, just honest. The alarm rang at 6 a.m. It was brutal. His body screamed for more sleep, but something deeper whispered, "Rise." He dragged himself out of bed. The floor felt cold. The silence, heavier than usual. He brewed black coffee, laced up his shoes, and stepped into the still morning air. That first jog didn't feel victorious. It felt humiliating. Heavy legs. Tight lungs. But by mile 2, something shifted, not in his pace, but in his spirit. This wasn't about becoming fit. It was about becoming whole. He opened the Bible again. Slowly. One verse at a time. And Paul's words hit hard. "I discipline my body and keep it under control." 1 Corinthians 9 verse 27. That's not just self-help. That's spiritual warfare. The weights began to clank again. The cold showers stung. The structure returned. But still, something was missing. What Jacob needed wasn't just routine. It was brotherhood. He joined a men's discipleship group. Not because he was ready, but because he was tired of pretending he didn't need help. And in that circle of men, something ancient came alive: accountability, purpose, grit. Not soft faith, real, masculine restoration. He began mentoring, serving, sharing his story. And slowly, the question shifted from "who am I?" to "who can I build with?" The Proverbs say, "Iron sharpens iron, and one man sharpens another." That's not poetry, it's process. And most men, we don't lack strength. We lack friction. We dull in isolation. So let me ask you, friend, have you built your life for freedom, but forgotten your tribe? Drop "iron sharpens me" in the comments if this hits home. Because Jacob's life didn't change when he fixed everything, it changed when he stopped hiding. When he built structure and stepped into strength, side by side with other men. And next, you'll see what happens when a man stops surviving and starts rising. By the way, if you haven't yet, please hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you don't miss any updates from me. It only takes a few seconds, but it helps us get closer to our goal of reaching 100 subscribers. Thanks so much, I really appreciate it. Part 6, The Man Who Rises, and So Can You. Jacob didn't become someone else. He became someone real. Not perfect. Not always polished. But grounded. Clear. Awake. The kind of man who walks into a room and carries calm instead of chaos. The kind of man who looks in the mirror and sees fire, not fatigue. His story didn't end with a breakthrough. It started with one. It was the decision to stop surviving and start building. To stop numbing and start noticing. And you, right now, might be standing in that same threshold. So what if your comeback starts today? What if, instead of waiting for clarity, you started moving toward it? Wake up 30 minutes earlier. Write down what you want to be remembered for. Call a mentor. Open the Word. Lift something heavy. Pray before the world wakes up. Not to impress anyone, but to remember you're still here. Still breathing. Still called. You don't need to fix your life in one night. You just need to answer the invitation to rise. To rebuild what's been buried. To reconnect with the God who never left. Because here's the truth, God doesn't meet men in crowds. He meets them in the wilderness if they show up. So show up. And if this part hits something deep, comment "I'm ready to rise" down below. Or tag a brother who needs to hear this. Because the world needs more men who don't just talk strength, they live it. And you were born for this. Men aren't made in comfort, they're forged in fire. Thanks for sticking around till the very end. If something in this video hit deep, if it made you pause, reflect, maybe even breathe a little heavier, then good. That means you're still alive. Still listening. So here's the question. Are you building strength or slowly slipping away? Since you stayed, let me leave you with this. Men aren't made in comfort. They're forged in resistance. And sometimes, the days that feel the heaviest are the ones shaping you the most. Have you ever been Jacob? Are you still him? Drop a comment. I'm choosing to rise. Sometimes one sentence is all it takes to start something real. And if this message meant something to you, do me one favor, hit subscribe, tap the bell, and share this with a brother who needs it. You were never meant to do this alone. Let's rise together.